Welcome to Rox Talks. I'm Roxanne Wilson, and this is Leah Hundsness. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Because I've only said your last name now twice in my lifetime.
Yeah, I don't usually encourage people to say it.
Why not?
Well, I think there are 4 or 5 consonants in a row. N-D-S-N. That's 4.
4. And
That's a lot.
That's a lot for a person.
Yeah, and I don't want them to feel that they're not successful.
Well, that's very thoughtful of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm here obviously with Leah H.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to highlight you, Leah, and share you with my listeners because I'm just a forever fan.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's true. I think, moving to California has been a journey for me, an unexpected journey, which is a good thing. But through that, I have met people who've really impacted my life in different ways. Unexpectedly met them, like totally unplanned. And you were definitely one of them.
Really?
Yes.
I feel the same way about you.
Oh, well, then it's meant to be. I think what it is, and I'm going to scooch around, this is the beauty of a podcast.
Being
I can
cozy.
move around and get cozy, is that you meet different people in your life for different reasons, for different times, to remind you of who you are or what you're capable of, or what you never knew you could do. And that's unique. So cheers.
God, that's so true how I feel about you.
See?
Honest to God.
To be. We got to drink to that. Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
This is my first podcast, also where I've been drinking.
Mine too.
Oh, there you go.
It's also my first podcast at all.
Well, they're all like this for sure. And then the first podcast where we're doing it also on TV, so on YouTube. So hello.
Hi,
we
YouTube.
see you. We know you're there, and we're happy you're there here too. So Leah, I want to share a little bit about you.
Yeah.
Let's get to it. So who is Leah? I will say Leah's the girl I met at the gym.
Thank you. And that's
woman.
the best, girl, woman, whatever. That is the best description possible.
I think that we've talked about this before, get so caught up in the, hi, what's your name? What do you do? And that's so, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I love about moving and getting to reinvent myself, but also getting to meet people at like the gym, it was more like, hi, are you going to do dance class?
Exactly. Really simple, really basic data.
Yes.
And that's all that matters.
It really is. There's something about wearing next to nothing and dancing around and twerking that also
it's something
you.
in the twerking. It's
twerk. Everyone would just twerk, the world would be better, don't you think?
In close proximity to each other.
Absolutely, with mirrors.
With mirrors, so there's angles on all of us. Yeah, it's definitely a bonding experience.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So I think it was like eons after where we had the, well, what do you do? What do you do? Which again, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
But how surprised was I to learn that you are a top executive in the beauty industry?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the sound of that. There's so many more talented and more successful people out there for sure. Mm. But I understand what you mean. I've been really fortunate to work at a few companies that have been darlings of the industry and have had an impact on the beauty industry.
Huge impact.
Yeah. So I think I've been, and I know it sounds like people say this all the time, but truly there is a lot of luck in this. A lot of luck. I've had massive luck.
Why do you say that? Do you not think you're capable of what you've achieved?
I think, I just think that there's been a lot of interesting meetings where one job led me directly into another and then directly into another that feel very lucky in terms of timing and matching my interest level. Now on the other hand, not having gotten married, having kids, settling down has freed me up to take advantage of a lot of opportunities that other people might have had but not been able to take advantage of. So I might just perceive things as luck, whereas the truth is I'd already set myself up for mobility, to being able to say, yes, I'm going to do that, and I can.
Yeah.
I can pack it up, I can get out of this one rental or whatever and
go to another country.
Go to another country, and it's no problem.
How many countries have you lived in?
3.
And they are?
They are the U.S., the best. And I'm very fond of America. I love America.
God bless the
bless
USA.
the U.S. and our founding fathers, our founding mothers, and everyone along the way. And France and Singapore.
Which is, those seem like completely different places. And all because of your beauty.
Because of beauty.
Because
Thank
of
God.
beauty.
Yeah, I've been so lucky.
Which is why you're a big wig, even though she doesn't want to say it. And the beauty, you are, because, and I know we're not going to get into exactly the companies,
Yeah.
but if someone took the time to look you up, they'd go, oh, I know that company. Oh, I know that company. Oh my gosh, she worked for that company, and you were part of big pivotal moments in those companies. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's, just personally, that's not a coincidence. I think it's serendipitous. It was meant to be. But I want to ask you, what did you learn from being? I mean, you were with companies where they were literally darlings that all of a sudden blew up. Mm-hmm. on the scene.
Yeah.
What do you think you learned from those experiences?
Oh wow, gosh, so much. I mean, I've been fortunate to work with it. The first that comes to mind is I've been able to work with founders, and founders are cut from a different cloth, I would say.
Are they passionate truly about the product?
Yes. Oh, they're passionate about so much, and they are just wired differently than the rest of us. They just take different risks. They view things differently. And just in general, that kind of diversity just enriches all of us. And of course, on the other hand, I've worked with, multi-billion-dollar global companies that attract a certain executive level, CEOs and CFOs and all that do think differently as well. Now, those tend to be more cultivated through what schools they went to, and did they start out at, Bain Consulting or whatever. There is a bit of a formula, to being a top executive at a P&G or a Sephora or whatever. But nonetheless, just having those two profiles of founders who just purely self-made, and then these sort of CEOs, executive types that are self-made, but there are more of them than there are founders. So I think that diversity has been enriching to me, because it's a measuring stick where I can see where they have skills, talents, or an ability to see things that I don't have on either end of the spectrum. And I think every time all of us can see in ourselves a lack, it's an opportunity for growth. I don't know, but that's diversity. That is a form of diversity. It's just how each person has built their career. So I think that just enriched me as just a person because I'm so different. I didn't grow up as a founder. I didn't have that kind of confidence. I didn't have that kind of passion, that kind of dream. And I've definitely not been cultivated. Did not go to one private school. I've gone, maybe my nursery school might have been private. This is Elsie's, nursery school in Sunnyvale. But everything else, I'm a public school, product.
Public school.
Yeah.
Even in college?
Oh yeah.
Where'd you go?
UC San Diego, UCLA.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh.
So like fully.
You're like full.
Full.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my mom was a teacher at a public school, so I'm really a product of the public school system.
So you openly mentioned that you said no kids, no husband,
Yes.
and you talk about that openly. Is that a choice that you feel like you made or had to make, or just how did that come about?
That came about by lack of planning, I would say. I think that if I'm being really honest, though, I remember in college talking with my college girlfriends, and one of them was talking very fondly about becoming a mother, and I just thought that was like, oh God, no. I mean, I can't imagine how I'm going to do that. And in my head, I was already calculating a boarding school option for my kids. And again, I grew up having McDonald's for dinner, playing softball, like no fancy summer camps and things like that. And I think that now, looking back, that was a lack of intimacy, and I think that scared me. So I can see that now as a blah 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 year old woman. I can see that I had some intimacy issues, that I was afraid of conflict, and I remember having a lot of conflict with my mom that just really was hard on me, and I didn't want to have that with my kids. So clearly that had an impact on this lack of planning, because other women did plan, even if it was by the skin of their teeth. They got pregnant at 38, 39, and I just couldn't seem to organize my orbit around that, but other people did. So I think it was a subconscious choice of being afraid of doing it wrong. And as I've gotten older, though, I know I would be a good mom. I know I would be fair and open and
loving and
non-judgmental and capable of intimacy, but it's just too late, which is why I tell any of the gals
Bridget Nelson just had a baby at 60? Is it really too late?
I guess maybe physically it's not. I guess, no, it's not too late. I could certainly adopt, for sure. But for those that want a more traditional experience of being pregnant and having a baby, I'm really open about that, and I'm sure I'm breaking many laws, at least in the US, when I talk about it with my teams that are under 35. I'm really straight with them. You have got to make it a priority if you want to have kids, and I'm always going to support them. If they have to leave work, and I mean, I'm very demanding, so I know that if any of them were watching, they'd say, yeah, you in theory like the idea of us leaving work early, but the reality is that you didn't make that possible. But I certainly would support somebody saying, I'm going to try to have a baby, so I've got to cut down my hours. And I would definitely bend over backwards to make that possible, because I think women have an obligation to help other women have both motherhood and a career. Yeah.
In your time, have you seen that because you didn't have kids, it was easier for you, or you were able to move up the ranks faster or further?
I think so. Yeah, because I was more available for those business trips. And yes, I think being able to have, I'm thinking about it from my boss's point of view. Once you're in your late 50s or early 60s or whatever, and you're a CEO of a company, you're not going to want to jump on every plane to go to every business trip. And you're going to want people that will represent you well, represent your brand, your business, whatever it is. And so, yes, the fact that it was very easy if somebody said, I need you to go to Israel next week, I could go to Israel next week. Versus, no, my husband is traveling, we don't have childcare, I'm going to need more notice than a week.
Yeah.
Which is perfectly reasonable, but I do think that happens. I think executives, they don't know it, but just whoever is the easiest to get the job done, and they get the job done, tends to get the promotions. Yeah.
In the beauty industry, is it 50-50, female, male? Is it 70-30? What's the skew? What's the breakdown?
I would guess that in the field, which means in the stores, or they count executives that are driving around, I would say it's probably 80-20 female to male.
But what about when you get outside of the stores?
It is the exact opposite.
Is it
when
really?
You're at the executive level, it is probably 80% male, or 70 if I'm being generous, and 30%
Seriously?
female. Seriously.
So men are making decisions for females.
Correct.
How interesting. And are they doing that accurately? Are they listening, I guess, is the best way to put that.
Yeah, I do. I think the good ones are. Yeah, I think they're not trying to, many of them are not trying to be product experts. That's where they will definitely defer to others in the room that are active users or passionate about it. And men can be passionate about it. But I would say I notice most men defer that part. Now, that's still an interesting point, because if you were in the automotive business, I think knowing cars is key to being a good CEO in the business, but I could be wrong.
Sure.
But in the beauty business, I think that many of them believe if they know retail, they can be in beauty. If they know wholesaling, how to be a great brand, they could be in the beauty business. And I think that's probably true. But I would also say, I think there's a lot of men out there who aren't in the beauty business, but maybe close enough, maybe their brother-in-law works in it, or maybe they've, I don't know, somebody they know is a journalist who covers it. And I think because there's so little talk of the product in the male side of the business, that many men underestimate how important the product is. So if they decide, I've got a few $1 million, I'm going to get into the beauty business, they think it's a matter of putting a pretty label on a package, and it's just easy. And I have to admit, I'm offended by that, because they don't know women. It's not just having money to pay manufacturers to make a product, or essentially to buy a private label product and put your name on it, which is what many of them think we as consumers are going to be okay with. And if there's anything I think the YouTube generation and Instagram influencer world has taught us, and hopefully these men, is no. It actually has to work. You have to deliver what you say it's going to deliver. And if it doesn't, we don't care how much you advertise or what your shelf placement is, or we're not going to buy it. So it's thanks to the influencers, I think I hope that some of these entrepreneurs that decide they want to be in the beauty business and they buy their way in will humble themselves to maybe say, there's a lot more nuance to this that we don't know.
Yeah. It's a little disappointing to know that it's so skewed.
Oh, in the male-female?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
That's shocking to me. I never knew that. You would just assume that it would be more of a lipstick.
Yeah, feminine workplace.
Yeah.
I thought it would be too, but it's not.
Wow.
Yeah.
You brought up the beauty industry with influencers. How has that changed the scope? Because when you started, that wasn't a thing. And now it's a big thing.
Well, I think it has democratized beauty. I think that having these influencers talk so passionately and fully about products, whether they're Chanel or Morphe, CoverGirl, it doesn't matter to them. And that has really changed the way the business is viewed, the segmentation of these products. And I think the reality is, and I'm curious what's in your makeup bag, but most of us have high and low in our makeup bag and have for years. We didn't need influencers to make that okay for us. We were all doing that, and we do it in our closets. That's been going on for years. But they definitely showed the business side, I would say. People started to take notice of influencers because of the numbers of followers they would have, and if your product got featured on one of their channels, they'd see the sales. So then they started to notice maybe, and I'm thinking mostly of the Sephoras and Ultas of the world, that it became very evident that it is perfectly okay to have CoverGirl and Tom Ford
in the same
routine and ritual in the morning or in the evening getting ready. So I think influencers have just shown the reality of beauty to those people. That's the first thing that comes to mind to me, which is more that macro view. I think they've made the focus for all of us on performance so much greater. Again, you can't just buy a product that a lab presents you, because they will make formulas and then present it to brands and hope somebody buys it without making any changes to it. And what I love about what I see with the influencers is they're challenging the formulas so rigorously that, first of all, the labs have to do a better job of their formulas, but the brands too, because it's they who put their name on those formulas. So they have to make modifications that are going to live up to their standards. So I think they've actually improved product quality. Now, I know that yes, you now have to pay a lot of them to get featured, but I look at 20 years ago and there was advertising, and those budgets could have been like easily $2 million for 1 6-week period, maybe with some outdoor or maybe some print. And it was so hard to tell if that had an impact. You'd really have to do cumulative work to feel that your advertising dollars were paying off, in my point of view. So I think that's a good question to ask other people that are focused solely on social media, but I personally think they have had a very positive impact on the business overall.
Who's your favorite influencer right now that you're following and watching? Because I know you watch them.
I have a ton, and there's some that I just won't mention because I think they're already somewhat, I'm sorry to say, but full of themselves. So I don't want to reinforce that. But I like Hot and Flashy. I only know her name is Angie, and she does a lot for skincare and a lot for makeup for women over 50. She started doing blogging when she was 50.
Wow.
And actually, at 56, she looks better today than she did at 50. Just her skin. So she's seems to really enjoy research, and she has a mind for chemistry, so she really latches on to that stuff. And for women my age, that really does matter. And the way she applies makeup is suitable for older skin. She's also pretty, so I think
they're all pretty.
Anything would look good on India.
They're all pretty.
Right.
They're all pretty.
The other one that I like a lot is her name is Tati, and her channel is Glam Life Guru, I think on Instagram. But I like the fact that she covers drugstore really thoroughly as well as prestige. So that to me is fantastic. I love Wayne Goss. He will do like a 2-minute video on baking for women that are over 40. So he'll do these very specific
Baking,
which
like
is
cooking, baking.
no. Okay, so baking is when you put your concealer, let's say here or here or here, and then you put a powder, usually a translucent powder, on top of it, and it's a heavy amount of powder.
Oh.
And it's baking because you're letting it sit there for a while and having your concealer absorb some layer of that powder so that you don't have creases. And then maybe the extra powder is to heat it up a bit, so there's some body heat that's going involved with this as well. I heard
that's
Jacqueline
pretty
Hill is
scientific.
saying. Jacqueline Hill's another really great influencer, and she was saying that this technique came from the transvestite community, the drag community, and they called it baking because their body temperature was heating up their, let's say, concealer, perhaps melting some of that powder into the top layer. I'm not really sure. I think if you had Mythbusters work on this baking, I'm not convinced that they would agree that it's doing anything other than using up a lot of powder.
But it works.
I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
Oh, you tried it.
It does not work for me because I have texture and I'm older. I suppose if you're 27 and you have like nothing under here.
Flawless. Baby's bottom.
Baby's bottom. I don't know. Doesn't work for me.
I love it. Okay. You have a passion when it comes to business, and you've seen a lot. Tell me about your ethics when it comes to the world of business.
Well, and I feel like I'm still a student of this, but I definitely have an issue with ethics and business. And maybe it's just that in American business, perhaps let's just speak to that, is brutal and very cutthroat and can be very inhumane because we're chasing the dollar. We have to report increases month over month, year over year, forever. We are pretty brutal. It's also the most dynamic business community in the world, or at least it's the most respected for many reasons. But I would say it seems like there are some behaviors and characteristics that get a pass that I don't think should get a pass. So, like being duplicitous, like being undermining your teams, not establishing a transparency, a plan where it's transparent for all of the department heads to equally participate in their portion of the game. I think that there's a lot of personal power struggles that go on by people in charge, unfortunately, and it gets in the way not only of winning in the marketplace, because, by the way, I think the marketplace is your boss. That's ultimately who's the boss, is the marketplace.
Consumer, right?
It's the consumer, the trends, that's the boss. So in my mind, that's who we all need to be attuned to and listening to. But there are many cases where it's the personality of your leader. You're serving that person's quirks.
The master, really.
The master.
Yeah.
Not the market.
No, the master.
Right, and I think what scares me about that is like you don't win. You don't win like that. And I want to win. If we're all working, to me it's like a team sport. It's like playing softball. And I just want to win.
Do you consider yourself competitive?
Yeah, I definitely am competitive. I don't consider myself that way. I don't think about it, but I really do. As a team, if we're doing something together, I want us to do it better than the others.
Else.
Yeah.
You're like me with the Olympics. I want the U.S. to win, and I'm like mean about it.
Okay.
And then I have other teams that I'm like, I get very competitive in moments like that. But it's the whole country I'm rooting for, so it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just if I'm on a team of sorts, I'm going to be competitive about that team.
Winning.
But I'm not competitive with my team.
Right.
It's definitely, I see it like we're suiting up and we're playing like softball. That's how I view it. So I want us to go to the nationals. And I'm happy if we get there. If we're not number one, I'm fine with that, but I want to at least get there. So I think you're able to do that when you're an ethical leader, because ethics for me, and many people, by the way, involves transparency. And transparency enables people to participate because they know what the plan is, and they can use all their resources towards the plan.
Because they trust the system and they trust who they're with. When you trust who you're with, you don't feel threatened.
Yeah.
And so you're able to be creative. And
You're able
more
to be
productive.
creative. Exactly.
So what are you doing to change that?
Moving. Good question. I'm leaving the country. No, I mean I'm giving up essentially. No, I'm kidding. The best I can do is be as transparent as possible and truly be a team player. That means helping other people, sharing information with them. If I have information that I know is going to help that other person's department spend their dollars wisely, I'm going to share it with them, flat out. I have yet to experience what that's like to work with somebody like that.
Wow.
Who goes out of their way to say, hey, I thought you would find this interesting.
Ever?
Ever.
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 That's sad.
Yeah.
Ever.
Ever. I think some of it is not malevolence, is that a word? I don't think it's coming from a bad place in many cases. I just think a lot of people are just thinking for themselves. Okay, this is the data that I got, and it's going to help my department in this way, and they're just not thinking about the other departments. But I think very much in these bigger global terms, and I think about the food chain, I guess, if you will, or the ecosystem is probably a better phrase. So I know the data helps me in one way, and it will help your department in another way, and the supply chain in another way. So let's just share the data.
That comes from the top down, though, don't you think? I think
Yes.
Culturally, if you're taught that that's something you do, or you're taught to respect other departments and understand what they do, then you're able to have that freedom of sharing.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's why I say it's not all coming from a bad place. I think that there's just a lot of people who have a shorter ramp of where their focus is. And again, that could mean they have greater depth than I do. My value is, though, in seeing the network of moving parts, I would say. And I fall short in other areas, but I can see how each department plays a pivotal role. And I'm always finding myself frustrated that there's limited communication between, and I put that on the individuals, that it's up to them to get up. If you're head of finance and you're putting numbers together, you might want to check with the head of sales on those revenue numbers.
Might be helpful.
It might be helpful. Like, really check with them, though, and have debates and discussions and roll up your sleeves.
All right, our wine is getting low, which
It is
I think
getting
it's an indicator. So I want to ask you, moving to Paris, and you've done it before and you're doing it again. So what are the top 3 things that you love about being an American in Paris?
Ooh. Well, I would say as an American in Paris, or anybody that's not French.
Just an American, because you don't know what it's like for anyone else.
I don't know, but I would say that just not being French, you're different. So, and I think, I don't think in Singapore that was such a positive, but I do think in Paris it is a positive. I also think the work-life balance is really nice. So it's not a brutal environment at work.
Nice.
And just to add to that, there's a lot of debate that's allowed. It's very hard to just fire somebody. So people are comfortable, they sort of sit in their seat, so to speak, and they will. I mean, there's positives and negatives to that. But I look at it mostly as a positive because there's not that fear of, if you don't like me, which is not really a valid reason for hiring or terminating, but there it's more, all personalities are welcome. You don't have to fit in like a Stepford wife there. You can have true diversity in personality and work styles there. because it's really hard to fire people. So again,
you learn to love each other.
You learn to love each other, exactly. But so I think there's less emotional stress there, I would say, in the office, and there's a greater balance that people don't go to bed at 9 o'clock at night there. They start eating dinner at 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So it's always feels like you have 2 days. So one is just the entertainment factor being different. The second point is the work-life balance and why I see that as being able to be a balance. And the third is I guess it's not a great feeling because I think being homesick is painful, having done it a few times.
Carrie Bradshaw got homesick in Paris.
And she wasn't even living there.
I guess she wasn't really living there. She was staying there for a while.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that it's not a feel good. However, I think you do learn a lot about yourself, and you have to get out of your usual patterns.
Comfort zone.
Yeah. There's lots of ways to experience life. It's not all the way you grew up or all the way you envisioned in your 20s.
Yeah.
So I think it forces you to grow.
I think that's so true. When I moved from Texas, not that California is Paris, but Texas and California might as well be different countries.
Totally.
I was very comfortable. I'd lived there for 13 years. I was doing my thing. And then it was like, guess what? You're moving to California. And it was like, oh, but I will say, having now been 2 years into it, it's helped me grow in a lot of ways.
It's different here, right?
Oh my gosh, it's a different language. You guys don't know what queso is. It's weird.
Yeah, I've heard about that. But it's also a different sense of community, right?
Yes. People are nicer in Texas.
Yeah.
1,000 gajillion times.
We're a little bit more cold and aloof here, right?
Would you say a little or a lot?
I would say a lot. Actually, I would say a lot.
A lot.
I think it's really hard. I've been here over 4 years now. And outside of you, well, no, in Orange County.
Okay.
You are my only new friend.
Wow. In 4 years.
And it's not like I don't, show up if I'm invited to places.
Social. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you because I came here and I'm used to talking to everybody. And everyone.
Yeah.
And I'd say hi and people would look straight through me.
Yeah.
Like, am I invisible? Did I not
yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And it's hard because you're moving and everything is different. And so you're feeling weird. And then no one will talk to you.
Right.
It's like, what the heck? Where am I? And so I see what you're saying, but it made me grow.
Same.
And it made me get to a point, in Austin, if I was bored and wanted to do something, I had 13 years of people to reach out to.
Anyone on speed dial.
Here I had to get out of the house and go, okay, you're going to this event. And yes, you have to talk to strangers. And you have to. But I'll tell you, this is coming full circle, the thing that did it for me, that finally got me starting to, because I think it takes 9 months at least to be okay with this place. But if you ask me what the turning point was, I would tell you that it was joining Equinox.
I'm telling you, you are a star there. It is. I'm always telling people, my friend Roxanne, your magnetism. I told you when we were walking in the other day, that guy, when we were tasting that tea, he was side-eyeing you so hard.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, and I don't think it's sexual. I don't know what it is. Because then we were also downstairs in the locker room one day, and this Asian woman came up to you. Do you remember? Because she had a heavy accent.
Sure.
You don't remember?
She was with the black outfit on, talking about dance?
She was talking about something. I just remember she had a heavy accent. So I don't think she knew you. She just knew of you, and she started to ask you about your workout, or I don't know what it was. It was something, and I remember thinking, wow, I don't.
I don't know about that. That's not where I was going with that. But I will tell you that was the first place where I met people who were nice and were
yeah.
You've got the mayor, Helen, and people who
she's so sweet.
She's wonderful. And there are nice people that live here that will actually talk to you.
And go out of their way. Oh yeah, I think we have a nice, the classes that we go to the people are really nice.
It's not the stereotype that people see on TV.
No, it's not.
I can't speak for the rest of the place, but
yeah,
it's pretty great.
No, the gym has been the highlight of my year.
Right?
Honestly.
Moral of the story is, I don't know why you never twerked before, but I'm so glad you agreed to come twerk.
I owe it to you that I'm twerking.
I'm trying to remember how that even,
I was thinking about it the other day. I went I saw you guys in a rookie class,
Uh-huh.
and I remember the
rookie class.
a rookie class, and I thought,
Props it up.
I can do that. I can totally do that. It was really just like boom, 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 boom. Remember that one where you go doom
With
doom,
your feet?
dun dun. No, like you open your feet to the wide, like you turn
Do
right,
you need to stand
left.
up and show me?
Well, I'll show you really quick, just so you know what I'm
I
talking about.
appreciate that.
You know, it's
Stand
when
right there so that you can be seen on camera.
Okay.
You're gonna do it, you gotta do it.
Okay, it's when you go bum, 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 bum.
Uh-huh.
That thing.
Yeah. And you slide back in.
Or whatever.
But he does it like pop and locky. And
He doesn't pop and locky,
Yeah.
but I thought, well, I can do that.
Uh-huh.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to try to go to a class, and I don't think I wasn't his class, but it was another one. I was in the back of the room. Maybe it was his. I don't know. I don't really think so. And I think then I came again, and I think you just, I don't know, you just said something like, I don't know, encouraged me or something. And then when I saw you again at more the entrance, you said, oh, are you going to go to the class? And so it kind of just made me feel like welcome to go to the class.
And now you're like,
You're right behind
him.
I'm right behind
But
you.
you're right behind him as well too.
Yeah, but
Doing
I'm
the
mostly
moves.
behind the both of you because I couldn't follow him, remember? And so I would follow you. So when I lose him, I know I can always rely on you. So I have the two of you within eyesight.
Because I do it like basic, and he does it like.
Right. I get lost.
I'm like
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I'm doing like, okay, so it was this 1, 2, 3,
Right.
4.
Yeah, and so that's what, you're my like, I don't know what he's doing. I can't do that, but I got this. And I can't keep up with you either, because if we're doing like down and ups, you're down, up. If there's a jump, you're jump. But I've learned to modify.
You do a great job.
Thank you.
Cheers to you. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Thoroughly
for
enjoyed it.
having me.
And thank you for watching Rocks Talks and listening to Rocks Talks. It's a double thing.
I know. Thank you.
Bye.